Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is episode 15 of season 11, titled Strength of Bonds. As the Thanksgiving holiday approaches, Amy works with the troubled jumper, and Jack and Lisa pressure Lou to reveal a secret family recipe. I'm glad to see, finally, after 11 seasons, there's a Thanksgiving episode. Because I had been saying for several seasons that I wanted to see like a Christmas episode, a Thanksgiving episode, a Halloween episode, and The Haunting of Hanley Barn was kind of their Halloween type episode. And then of course we got a Heartland Christmas, which was the Christmas one, although I would like to see other ones throughout there. So now we're actually gonna get Thanksgiving, which of course in Canada, Thanksgiving is in October, while here in the States, it's in November. You might recall I wore this sweater around Thanksgiving when I filmed for season 9. So, sweater is making a reappearance for Thanksgiving as I was filming around Thanksgiving. So, hey. But yeah, so I'm excited to see that because it'd be interesting to see how their Thanksgivings are different from American Thanksgivings. And again, you know, it's in October, so, and it kind of varies with the date too, just like it does here in the States. So I'm excited for that. And like I said, I hope we see like some extra, like maybe in season 13 or something like that, we see like another Christmas type episode. Or like I said, it would have been nice to see some of Halloween. The Haunting of Hanley Barn was kind of Halloweenish because you had like the whole haunting aspect, but like an actual Halloween where, you know, they've decorated with jack-o'-lanterns, maybe they're having a Halloween party, you know, and so you've got costumes and they're carving jack-o'-lanterns and they're decorating and stuff like that, you know, and have an actual episode set at Halloween. You know, or maybe, you never know, maybe if there is a season 17, maybe they would do a Heartland Halloween or something. You know, they did a Heartland Christmas. Why didn't they go on and do anything else? Do a Heartland Halloween, a Heartland Thanksgiving, a Heartland Easter. You know, that would have been interesting to see. A couple extra specials they could have had there. Maybe the actors didn't want to do it. You know. Anyways, let's get started. Now, hey Phoenix. Nothing wrong with being a rodeo bronc. He's a good boy. So back to Westfield. That's not a bad thing. Take that as an honor.
Good to see you.
That's a long trip for Thanksgiving.
Practice, or you'd probably use your help.
Yeah, sure.
So she got to leave Texas when it would have been
Okay, guys,
October.
Come on in here. Listen up.
Thanks. Good chat.
Well,
He seems like a really great horse, so I got thinking.
when you texted, why don't people want to call and just have a conversation anymore? I'm sure.
You can't tell him I told you anything.
I like that Tim feels protective of Jade, you know, like she's kind of like his daughter, even though she's not. But let's not forget Shane. I keep bringing him up because it's like he just disappeared, you know. And I know people will say, well, Miranda got remarried. That doesn't matter. He's still Tim's son, and you would think Tim would still have a connection to him. Now, maybe he gave up all rights and custody. Maybe the new husband has kind of taken over. But especially when Shane would have hit 18, which by now he would have, you would think that he would be around. That he would be like, you know what, I'm going to go see my father. So the other thing here about Thanksgiving that I'm thinking about, as of right now, we don't have Lou. We don't have Peter. We don't have Katie. We don't have Ty. And we don't have Jeff. I mean, obviously, things happen and, in Canada, maybe things are different, but you would think for the big Thanksgiving meal that they would want to have as many family members as they can. And maybe in the past they have had them all there. Maybe in the past, for past Thanksgivings, Peter has been there. But you notice there hasn't been any mention of Peter. And he is still family since he is still the father to the two girls. So you would think at least at some point that they would mention him. Or again, the same thing with Jeff, since he is Georgie's brother. Would Jeff be invited? And again, maybe you could talk about past Thanksgivings and say, yeah, Jeff was there last year. Peter was there last year. But, it's just, it always seems like with these episodes when there's these big events like Amy's graduation or one of the weddings or this for Thanksgiving or whatnot, that there's always someone missing. Like in this, we've got Lisa. But I know there have been a couple of episodes that Lisa hasn't been in when there have been some fairly big events. And we may or may not get Ty. Maybe he's going to show up at the end. I don't know. But, you just think that with these big family events that they would be there. And I mean, someone like Peter, like he would know when Thanksgiving is, so he would know when to come home and he could plan around that, even if he's working. He just tells him he's taking a few days off. So for something like that, it shouldn't bug me, but it does. Just because it feels like it's, not complete family. And especially something like Thanksgiving that is basically supposed to be all about family. And I know it happens nowadays where sometimes family members just can't make it. But, I don't know. I would think with something like that, and maybe they do contact the actors and the actors can't do it, but I would think for something like that they would have pulled out all the stops and been like, we need Graham Wardle, we need Gabriel Hogan, we need the guy who plays Jeff, we need everyone involved in this episode. Even if they all show up for the last 2 minutes.
For you.
Oh.
Wyatt, seriously?
Oh, that boy is not afraid to go over the top, is he?
No,
I
he's
don't know what to
not.
say.
I think it's very sweet. What do you want us to do with them, honey?
I don't know. Amy's out there training with Peyton's horse.
Okay, we'll go and we'll put them in vases.
Oh, are you sure?
I mean, Jack will put them in vases.
How she likes them.
Okay, thank you.
He's stuck with the floor.
I know. Amy watched me ride for a while.
Everything was great in Texas.
Yeah, it's fine. This is my home. Sounds spicy.
Frank.
It is. It's supposed to be amazing. Nothing but the best for you.
Okay, we can
So he
check it out.
spoils her.
It's gonna be good. I'll pick you up at 6, okay?
I like that he says, "You're my girlfriend. You're gonna be spoiled." I'm like, aw. Yeah, that. Amy's right. He needs that direction. Tyson needs to know who is in control. It seems like Peyton doesn't quite have a handle on it, which of course she will. But I like how this episode is called Strength of Bonds, because you're going to have a bond between Tyson and Peyton by the end of the episode. My guess is that there's going to be the bond between Tim and Jade, that's going to grow a bit stronger. Maybe the whole family bond with the Flemings. Sometimes these episodes do refer to a specific character, and sometimes they're just kind of... And it's a good title for a Thanksgiving episode, Strength of Bonds, because especially when you're talking about family, family bonds, family strength. You celebrate that at a time like Thanksgiving, you know? And I love how, they're trying to talk about the traditions and, talking about Grandma Lindy's stuffing. And, this past Thanksgiving, I mean, obviously I don't know when this is going to air. This could be years from now. But, that little foot. Can you see that? Isn't that adorable? But this past Thanksgiving, my parents are in their 80s, and they didn't really want to do a whole lot with all the prep, which I can't blame them. They're in their 80s. So we ended up, my brother, my SO, and I ended up going to our local Hy-Vee, which is a grocery store, and paid for a Thanksgiving meal. So we ended up getting a turkey and like 4 sides and like a dozen rolls. And then we brought, of course, anything extra. And my parents did make something. I think they made stuffing and whatnot. And so it wasn't like kind of the traditional that you think for family Thanksgiving. It wasn't they put the turkey in the oven, make all the sides, stuff like that. It wasn't that. But to be honest, I felt that it worked really well and went really smoothly. We showed up, we got all the food, we showed up at my parents'. That was the first time my husband had ever carved a turkey. So, he carved it. My father, he didn't want to do all of like the cleanup, but he was happy to help. So, he was over there having fun, helping with dishing stuff out and everything. And I felt like we created new memories even with that. And I'm sure that that's probably something that's going to happen this Thanksgiving and maybe next Thanksgiving. So, it's like you get the image of everyone having to make everything. And sometimes that just doesn't work. And it is the same thing, like sometimes you can't have family there all the time, even though you can try. But you still have that strength of bond, because everyone was willing to help pitch in and do what we had to do. And it worked.
You're fine. You're okay.
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine.
Settle down. Settle down. There we go. He needs to know that you're the boss.
Yep. You can do it. Good boy. There you go.
No.
She kind of pulled back on his mouth. Georgie looked absolutely gorgeous. That was a beautiful dress that she had on. But like I said, Wyatt should have done his research. For one of our anniversaries, we went to a place called Stevenson's. I don't know if they're still there. I'll have to check. And of course, because it was an anniversary, we treated ourselves. We knew it was going to be pricey. Probably not like La Maison, because I'm guessing that was probably $300-400. But, we had like an appetizer, there was soup, there was the main course, there was dessert. I mean, it was really nice. And it was a nice little anniversary dinner, a chance to have something for us, have a nice fancy dinner, because you have to do that every so often, That's one thing that I like with this show is, a lot of times you see them wearing flannels and boots and cowboy hats and stuff like that. But it is nice to see kind of the other side, like Amy and Ty going out for a nice dinner and they're both dressed up, or, Georgie here. Especially because Georgie didn't really want to be a girl, at least when the show first started. It was tough to get her to wear a dress when she was doing the daddy-daughter dance with Peter. But, Georgie, over time, has become a little more girl, a little more feminine. She wears her hair down more. And I think part of the reason why she was like that, of course, was from being in the foster system and feeling that she had to be kind of tough and whatnot. And, of course, obviously, over time, she has changed and softened. And, there's nothing wrong with having the occasional night out, getting dressed up, going out, having a nice dinner. Or even like if you have to say get dressed up for a wedding. It's like, it's fun to get dressed up every so often, even if you have a certain way that you like to be. Or like with Jack, how he will occasionally wear a suit. Now, I don't think Jack actually likes it, but I would say that, yeah, it is fun to do that. Every so often, do something a little different, step out of your zone. And so it was nice to see that. But Wyatt should have talked to his mother about La Maison. And if he didn't have the money, then he should have figured out something. Like maybe borrowed from his mother and then, borrowed his mother's credit card and then paid her back. And know that he's okay, at least as of now.
I can't believe we got it dashed.
I know. For the millionth time, I was so sorry. I
So,
had no idea how
apparently
expensive
he
it was gonna be.
Told her.
And like I said, I went back this morning and I paid the bill.
Good.
So humiliated.
I love the dinner. And the flowers the other day, but where did you get all these pretty? That looks great. Can we go back to my place? I want to show the equestrian official.
But at least she recovered nicely. Unfortunately, something like that could have just spooked any horse. It could have spooked Phoenix. It could have spooked Spartan. Unfortunately, horses do spook easily. But yeah, she recovered nicely. So that was good to see. Now there's 5 minutes left. I'm guessing that we're going to see Lou. I mean, maybe not, but I have a feeling that Lou's going to appear here at the end with the stuffing. But, Lisa is making a big deal out of this. And I get it, but at the same time, I'm also thinking, well, if you want to talk about tradition, wouldn't it make sense for Lou to spread this tradition to Georgie or to Katie so that it'll continue for other generations? Because Lisa's older, so even if Lou gives it to Lisa, what's Lisa going to do? It would be easier actually for her to say give it to Georgie, and then when Georgie has a family, she gives it to her daughter or son or whoever, and maybe tell Katie too, and then Katie can do the same. Maybe tell it to baby Lindy. So if it's supposed to be carried down from generation to generation, it kind of makes sense to not give it to someone like Lisa, but we'll see.
That was Lou. She didn't even get my text. And
Yeah.
she said she certainly would have given me the recipe right away.
Just because it said delivered doesn't mean that it was right.
Right in the kitchen. Yeah, me too.
So let's get started.
No. These are for my eyes only.
What?
Yeah, it's tradition. Unheard.
He's smiling. He likes that.
You're amazing.
I'm disappointed that Ty wasn't there. They didn't really say where he was. They just, I think, commented that he wasn't around. Which again, I'm like, what the hell is up with Graham Wardle? I mean, you would think with something like that, kind of this family type episode, that they would have had Ty and that Lou would have made it back, I mean, the nice thing about Jade being there is it's kind of like family, but wouldn't she have her own family? Maybe not. Wouldn't the doctor maybe have been invited? Maybe not. But I'm just kind of like, it was nice to see all the decorations and everything. That's one thing that I love the most when you have like episodes that are set at Easter or Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, whatever, is seeing how they decorate the sets, and seeing what they do. Like one thing, when watching Friends, they had like 9 Thanksgiving episodes. I do not count season 2 because they just referenced Thanksgiving. It was not set at Thanksgiving, but they had 9 Thanksgiving episodes. And to be honest, I think those are actually my favorite episodes because I just love seeing the decorations, the food prep, and it just, yeah, I would say that those are probably my favorite episodes. And, I try to watch them like every year at Thanksgiving. And sometimes even sooner. But yeah, it's like I like seeing how they decorate. Or like one thing, I'll watch the Hallmark Christmas movies because it's fascinating to see just how they decorate, that you'll see like these places where they decorate for Christmas, how there's Christmas everywhere and you're literally in like kind of like a fairy tale land, like a Christmas fairy tale land, trees decorated, lights everywhere, hot cocoa, gingerbread, stuff like that. And of course, it's entertainment and stuff like that, but I just love that. And it makes me want to be there. And so it's kind of the same with this, it's like, they had some nice fall decorations for Thanksgiving, stuff like that. And yeah, with that, it felt like home, like, yeah, I would have liked to have been there. And to be honest, that was a small family because, Lou wasn't there, Katie wasn't there, Peter wasn't there, Ty wasn't there. And I like how they did say we do this every year. Like Georgie said that too, because obviously Georgie has had Thanksgiving with them pretty much since season 6. So it was nice to see her say something like that, kind of acknowledging that even though we haven't seen Thanksgiving episodes, the family still did celebrate it. And it was nice there at the end when they were all kind of out by the bonfire and whatnot, kind of enjoying some hot tea or whatever, and having a bonfire. But for those who celebrate Thanksgiving in Canada, let me know down in the comments how it differs from America. America we celebrate on a Thursday and it's in November, and Canada I know is in October. So is it always on a Thursday in October? Is it on a Sunday? They were celebrating on a Sunday. Was it just they were doing Sunday because that was when they could get together? What are some of the traditions that you guys do that are different than what we celebrate in America? It'd be interesting to know what is similar and what is different. Obviously, they had a turkey, so turkey's the same thing. My guess is that the meal is probably fairly similar. Also, for those who do celebrate, let me know what your favorite part of Thanksgiving is in terms of the meal. Is it the turkey, the sides, the leftovers, the pie, Let me know down in the comments. I'd be interested in hearing about that. But like I said, I love when shows do episodes set at holidays. And I say that meaning pretty much any holiday. Easter, Valentine's, New Year's, whatever. I kind of feel like every show should do that at least once, provided that they have more than one season, or even if they have one season, just throw something like that in. I just feel it adds, maybe that's just me. But thank you for joining me for the Thanksgiving episode. I hope you enjoyed it as I did. Please hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and if you can, support me on Buy Me a Coffee. If you need an editor, please click on the link in the description for my editor and reach out to her. She would be more than happy to talk to you. She is the one that keeps these videos looking the way they are, so shout out to her. And, from the episode airing, I will say happy Thanksgiving and happy whatever time of year that this does post, whether it's at Thanksgiving, depending on timing, or a random day in the month of August, just whenever. I hope you all have a great day, a great week, a great Thanksgiving if you celebrate. Let me know some of your traditions down in the comments. And I will see you for episode 16, where it sounds like there's a surprise visitor, aka Dylan, returning. Bye.